Well, welcome everybody. This is Creativity Expert Exchange 2026. This talk is Better Late Than Early: How AI Integration Timing Shapes Judgments of Creative Work. I'm Mike Ackerbauer. I'll be the moderator, which just means I'll keep time and field questions at the appropriate time. I'd like to introduce our speaker, Josh Mahaney. There we go. Josh Mahaney is an assistant professor of business administration at ESCA School of Management in France. You told me the pronunciation and I lost it, where he teaches courses in innovation and marketing. Josh completed his PhD in business administration at Grenoble School of Management and his Master of Science degree in creative studies at Buffalo State. Josh also has 6 years of experience working in corporate innovation labs at both Disney and the Orlando Magic, an NBA team. Josh, take it away.
Thanks very much. Hi, everyone. Hi, to the two, and maybe to the people watching the recording. Again, my name is Josh, and I'm super excited to be here. I always with the Creativity Expert Exchange. I've done presentations the last few years, and of course, I did my master's, as Mike said, I did the master's at Buff State. Um, so really nice to share back every time I'm here. And looking forward to sharing some research that me and co-authors have been working on for about a year now. It's been like a year. So these research journeys are long and drawn out. But if it's something that you are passionate about, it's awesome because um, you can keep that motivation going, keep that momentum. So yeah, the title of this presentation is Better Late Than Early. Better late than early. How AI integration timing shapes judgments of creative work, right? So it's about judgment, decision making kind of topic. And it is a paper that is myself, and at ESCA, and as well as Rajarshi Majumdar, who is PhD candidate, about to be assistant professor, but not at Grenoble. And then Jarif, also at Norwegian School of Economics. So that's us three, the team for this specific paper. So yeah, we have a couple things to set the sort of the motivation for the paper, right? As you know, it's about AI. But AI is such a huge topic. What am I talking about? So just a couple just different pieces around AI in the news to kind of foster that motivation. So recently in last months we had AI generating like creative work, right? Not just kind of algorithm decision making. We have this Walk My Walk, which is a song that was created entirely by an AI artist, and this was shared and went to the top of the Billboard country music charts. So number one in sales, and ever since then we've had other AI artists climbing the charts and really reaching some really high levels of unprecedented popularity. Also, we have AI models, these LLM large language models that are doing some other creative work that's multimodal, right? It's not just the audio. We have audio plus video, and we have something so good and so high in quality that Disney is sending cease and desist to models from other countries, right? ByteDance, the C Dance 2.0. There was a lot of videos out there, a lot of clips out there on Twitter or X around, with Marvel and Star Wars and other IP that Disney owned, and it was really good. It was very good quality. So it's not just one sort of area, one genre. It's multimodal. It's different genres, and the idea is like, what are we going to do here? How are we going to deal with this? Well, we have, thought leaders, people like Harvard Business Review, school professor of our business group talk about one of their professors saying, it's not AI that's going to totally replace humans per se, but humans that are not using the AI tools that are available will be replaced, right? A recent, so just to that vein, we have engineers, top engineers, and even the CEO of Claude, right? The company's called Anthropic. It's one of the biggest market share companies in terms of AI models. So his name is Dario Amodei, and he says, our software engineers are now using Claude to code. They're using the program to code. They're using the language, English language, to code. They just need to maybe fix it a little bit at the end, but it's almost to that point where you use language to tell a model to get better. The model writes its own code. The model is getting better. As you can see, at a certain point, it's going to become, improving itself because it's almost there already. At the words of the CEO and the engineers themselves. So this is threatening a lot of domains, a lot of industries, right? And as a result, we have some backlash. We have, the Oscars. I mean, we had, of course, the agreement with the Hollywood organization, right? All the actors saying that we don't, making an agreement that we don't want, our likeness used in terms of AI in some of the movies and films. However, the Oscars did rule on their side that films that have AI in them or use AI can still be relevant to win. And even Ben Affleck was reported, one of the actors, selling Netflix's AI company for hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's both sides, right? A lot of rift regarding AI, its capabilities. Of course, this notion of creativity and AI is very relevant, and it's becoming increasingly like a big tidal wave, right? More and more important to the point of threatening maybe major industries. So really, I'm looking at the timing of using AI tools, right? So these AI tools can obviously generate things by themselves. They can also be used by artists or creators, at different stages of the creative process, right? It's their ability to use them whenever they want, right? So, are you going to be replaced? Are you going to be using them? But we like to look at, for our research question, the timing of AI use as a tool, right? And when someone engaged in creative process integrates that AI tool into their creative process, does that affect other, like consumer, like everyone else? Does it impact the normal general audience? Does it impact their perceptions of that creator engaging in that process, that creator's authenticity or effort, right? Effort perceptions or creativity, right? Creative perception. So it's not about the products themselves. It's about what you expect them to generate using these AI tools at different times in the creative process. So as per academic research, we typically will go and talk about the background of the research, what actually exists, or what's the research saying to build up our argument, right? And so it's a lot of words, but I'll try to break it down in terms of the way I kind of narrate it. But the core tension here is that AI integration timing is really a strategic choice made by the creator, right? And the notion is maybe the observer's eyes believe that this compromises their creativity by when when that creator uses the tool. Now, this has to do with like this attribution, right? This attribution kind of paradox, because AIs can be used in different ways, right? They can be used at different stages of the creative process and to a great effect, right? Helpful in all different stages of the creative process. So sometimes it can be used to increase efficiency, but there is this notion of evaluators have their own bias, right? They are biasing, they have a bias against creators based on those observable cues, right? That notion is people use AI tools. You don't know sometimes when they're used, or more specifically, you don't know how they're used in the creative process, but these cues of what is being available to you in terms of communication as a consumer or as someone that's going to, evaluate someone's creativity What are those cues you have, and how might that affect your judgments of those people using, AI in the creative process? So basically, we have this observable cue as the way that people will evaluate people using people's creative process, individuals or creatives' creative process. And so, since you don't see exactly how someone's creative process visually or is going through, you can really assume or make a judgment about people's creativity by just different cues such as AI integration timing, right? So um, essentially, like using AI in creative work has been shown in research over and over that people that are observing people using AI in creative work, they're going to judge them harshly, right? There is going to be a penalty in terms of evaluators' perceptions in terms of using that AI in creative work, no matter what the output quality is, right? That's key. So whether AI is used strategically, or even if the product itself is indistinguishable from human made, there is still is that assumption or that evaluation that some outcome is less creative, right? The notion that in the creative process, the ideation phase is first, right? That comes first in terms of the way that you might do creativity. You diverge first, and the assumption with the divergent phase or that ideation phase is that it's that creative identity anchor, right? It's the place in the beginning where the work creates or starts its creative identity, right? It's not like later in the process. It's earlier in the process where the perception is that the creative identity is started. And of course, when it comes to creativity or originality, people generally see humans or attribute humans to being more creative or original, right? So this AI integration, the issue is the attribution will be negative if people use AI early, because it will be seen as using AI to take away from that creative expression, that humanness, and that identity or that soul the of the content or the idea being expressed ultimately in the creative product, right? So a couple heuristics, a couple reasons why, using AI early or late may be seen as detrimental, we argue is both effort and authenticity, right? So we find that observers penalize AI use because it signals reduced human labor, right? It really dilutes that personal expression. So consumers judge quality, they judge value by perceived creator investment, right? So how much a creator invests in their process, that is going to be seen as more or less quality by outside observers. So if you kind of use AI early, you may find that it might be like dodging like the hard part of the work, right? In addition to that, on the authenticity side, authenticity, it involves that expression of ideas that come from you, from a human, right? It's consistent with your identity, and the notion that the more that the creator has kind of creative control over the work, you think about it almost like a creative vision. It will follow the creative vision, and they're seen as more authentic if a creator has more control over it, because it can be seen as a creative sort of executing their original vision. So if there's less control, if there's less sort of creative control over a process, then individuals, outside observers, may see a product as, or an outcome, creative outcome, is not being that authentic, right? Not very positive in its outcome. So it may be seen as less real or less meaningful. So since we have AI disclosure eroding, this notion of effort and this notion of feeling like a work is less real or less authentic because of those authenticity signals that are lost when a creator is basically shown that they're using maybe an AI for the early parts where that origination or that identity of a work is typically being created, may lead those two things may lead to the lower creativity perceptions, right? So even if AI boosts the outcome, the output, right? Even if it helps ultimately with the actual creative product, unfortunately, observers see it less human. They see it as like losing a soul, kind of, right? So there is a penalty. That's where the timing penalty comes from. So based on some of this theory, based on our paper argumentation, we really make these hypotheses. We argue that, of course, creators are perceived as less creative when they integrate AI early or at the beginning than late or at the end of the creative process. Now, we argue for these two main mediators, right? These main explanations. We say creators integrating AI early, it seems like they're offloading the work, right? They're really investing less effort, and so therefore they're less creative in terms of the way that they invested their creativity. And secondly, so that's one mediation. The second is the authenticity, which I just mentioned, which is basically saying, look, if someone is using AI early, right, that's where the identity of an idea comes from. That is where the origination of an idea comes from, right? So people are going to be perceiving that person engaged in the creative process is less authentic, right? Because they're giving away the soul, the identity of the idea to a machine, right? To an AI tool. So visually, this is what the theoretical model looks like that we test, right? We say, okay, so in one case, we have individuals, people who are, taking a survey. I'll mention more about that later, but they are exposed with either early integration of AI or late integration of AI, right? We're doing experiments to see, hey, do people observe individuals using AI early or later as less or more effortful, authentic? Does that lead to higher or lower perceptions of creativity, right? So basically, we're saying our argument, as I did with the hypotheses, if you use AI early, people are going to perceive your creative output, the creative process, the creative person as engaging in that process as less creative if they use AI early, because they've engaged in less effort, because they've engaged, because they're being less authentic. So what are these tests that we ran? So we ran many experiments. We ran these with different sources, different groups of people. The 7 experiments I present today are with a total of 2,700 some people. We collect from online sources, right? So individuals, for a sum of money, they answer some questions, and we see, hey, are they more or less likely to find that this person engaging in a creative process is more or less effortful, authentic, and in terms of how creative they are and engaging in their process. So we showed them these scenarios, right? We showed individuals either a scenario in which a person engaging in music production, designing clothing, etc., whether they implemented or they integrated that AI early, right, in the beginning of their creative process, or in other cases, other individuals saw or heard about a creator who was designing clothes or engaging in the music production process, and they used the AI late, right? They used the AI recommendations later at the end of the process. to see if there is a distinction between those two groups. So we use the words early, late, beginning, end interchangeably. We also increase the generalization. So we bring these areas of creative sort of production, such as music production and clothing design, into more generic business context. So we really to generalize into more areas. So this is not just very creative domains, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So again, early, late, beginning, end. In the beginning of our experiments, well, sorry, some of the first experiments we did, when we talked about early, late, we would use like adjectives, like in the beginning, like if some people were exposed to an individual who is creating a song, right? We would say they're using this AI tool early to generate ideas, right? To come up with new ideas, to really diverge, to come up with many possible solutions, lots of different ideas for a new beat or new melody, right? And when we said when we said that this individual used the AI late, we said, okay, those individuals were using AI to refine a beat, right? To land on one melody, right? To really focus on one outcome, one product. But we found that in some further criticism that, or in terms of peer review, we found that individuals to say, okay, well, maybe people are making associations not in early and late. Maybe people are making associations about creators' authenticity or effort based on those words, those characteristics of the creative process. So in later experiments, we only gave time. We equalized the amount of time, and we said these creators are using the AI tool only in like the first 25% of the creative process or the last 25% of the creative process. So we really eliminated all of those creative kind of words, and we just wanted to see if the timing effect stayed. So with this first study that I'll share, we have the AI integration timing, right? So we show, okay, as you can see on the graph on the left side, the left graph basically, you can see that the green average or dot corresponds to the average rating or creativity rating of that individual based on just using AI without any description, right? So that's the green. We just said they used AI, no early or late timing. With the red, that's the dot, that's the mean average of participants who hear or who see the description of an individual, a creator who's integrating AI early in their creative process. And then at the top, the blue one, or teal, bluish, is the indication of the average of creativity ratings of people who hear that a creator has integrated the AI tool late in the creative process, right? So as you can see, when it comes to saying that someone used AI in the creative process, right? The average creativity is not that high, right? It's like a 3 point, we'll see the control is 3.69. So like a let's say 3.7 out of 7 rating if they used AI in general in the creative process. But you can see if we say that they used AI early in the creative process, the mean is 3.38, which statistically is not significantly different than the control. So what that means is we find that people who use AI or people that hear that someone used AI early in the creative process is just as bad, I would say bad, just as bad as someone who just used AI in the creative process. So if you heard someone used AI to generate that creativity, we find statistically that that's about the same kind of rating as hearing that someone used AI early. Right, so we'll say that that's an AI consequence. It's timing, a negative timing consequence is the same as almost the negative consequence of just using AI. And using AI later obviously gives higher creative evaluations, right? So if you say I used AI later, you get higher evaluations than just saying you used it or just saying you used it early. In study 1B, we wanted to generalize this across more contexts, right? So in our early experiments, we just said, okay, these individuals are engaged in a creative process, they're making a song, they're creating a design of clothing, etc. But in these other experiments, we were like, okay, does this go beyond like just very explicitly creative domains? So we talk about a creator that's creating an advertising campaign or creating new product development or research proposal, maybe a new public communication for a PR firm, right? Creating a new training program, new strategy for their business. And we find that this early versus late bias exists and persists, right? So for all of these domains, these individuals engaging just in the process of creating something, very business oriented, not very creative, at least less explicitly creative, we find this bias of using AI early versus late is very apparent and very strong, quite strong. So then this is just measuring those mediators, right? And by that I mean, do we find that the reason for these effects, like, is it the reason that people find AI use early versus later as being negative? Is it because indeed outside observers say, oh, okay, it's because they're less authentic. It is because they've engaged in lower levels of effort. So we tested that in another study, and we show that indeed, right, people, you can see the means on the right-hand side. So individuals that use AI early are statistically significantly less seen as exhibiting less effort. People who use AI early are seen as less authentic and less creative as well. So meaning if someone uses AI early, they are perceived as less creative because they are engaging in less effortful work and because they are being less authentic in their creative process. In some next studies, we wanted to look at moderator, right? So can we turn this effect on or off, right? So yes, we see that there is a negative assumption or observation that if someone uses AI early and AI too early, bad, right? Bad in terms of their creativity evaluations. But can we say something else around the early or late AI use that changes the perception of outside observers? And we find we can. Okay, so this is replicating our effects, but if I move it to just that main box top left, take a look, you can see early versus late, right? Early is red in terms of their evaluations, late is blue. And you can see the bottom two, right? You can see the bottom two just saying AI is used early or late. So the very bottom, green and blue pair, right? You can see that yes, using AI early versus late, there's still the effect. People using AI early are not seen that creative. Okay, however, we find a moderation. So we want to say, okay, we have this constant, right? We have some people seeing AI use early, some people using AI use late. What if we say those people using AI early, instead of using the recommendations from the AI, they actually modified those suggestions and then implemented versus just implementing those suggestions right away, right? So we had four scenarios here. People who used AI early and implemented them right away, people who used AI early and modified those suggestions before implementing them, people that used AI late and implemented those suggestions, people who used AI late, but they modified the suggestions before implementing them, right? So we wanted to see if we could take away this effect, right? This negative effect. Early people are judged really negatively using AI. Late people are judged less negatively. How do we make it so that they're equal or it takes it away, right? So we find that if the early people using AI early directly implement the suggestions from the AI, they're judged worse, right? If people using AI early and they say they directly implement, they're seen as worse. However, if you see the people that use AI early and or late, right? In both cases, if they both claim I'm using AI early or I'm using AI late, if they both claim I modify the AI suggestions before implementing the ideas, right? Before implementing the recommendations, then that negative effect of early versus late disappears. Again, this is, I think, a big takeaway for the presentation, which is you have this negative perspective of using AI early or versus using AI late. But if even if you're using AI early, if you say I modified the suggestions from the AI before implementing them, then you find that the effect, the negative perception of people using AI early versus late goes away, right? So people who are using AI early, but they said they modified uh, the ideas before implementing them, they have the same kind of evaluation as people that used AI late, right? Which is normally a better evaluation. So I think that's a big takeaway. So some question that we also wanted to ask, hey, is there a moderation of expertise, right? So some people might say, okay, right, people using AI early versus late are negative, right? What if those people are experts, right? They use AI early, but we know they've been successful in the past, right? They won Grammys if they're making some music, or they won some design award. Does that make a difference, right? If we have like Taylor Swift using AI early versus late, maybe people won't judge her as much, right? Because she's already super successful and she's done amazing work, right? So she's the first example that came to mind. Very prolific, right? But we find that it persists even with expertise. So even whether a person is shown as having years of experience and they've won awards and et cetera, they are still negatively, really negatively judged for using AI tools early versus late in the process, in the creative process. We wanted to see if this persists in terms of human help. So it's like, okay, using AI early is bad. What about using humans early, right? Asking them for help in your process. Is that bad if you use them earlier or ask them for help earlier? And we find, yeah, that effect actually exists. So it persists not just with AI, but with humans. You use their help earlier, people are going to judge you and your creativity. Um, but there's a little bit more finesse or some details to add here, which is that the AI early versus late judgment is much wider than human, right? So you're judged more negatively if you used human help earlier, not as bad as using AI. You can see in that first square graph right there, right? So you can see AI versus human. AI help average of 4.20 versus 4.75. But with humans, I have to update this. So AI is more toward 4.0, right? So there's definitely a more negative outcome if you use AI early versus using a human early. So we want to say, hey, okay, fine. People judge people's creativity using AI early. Does this persist in terms of recommendations for a bonus, right? More relevant managerial recommendations, right? So if you use AI early versus late, are managers less likely to give this person a bonus if they use AI early? And the answer is yes, they are less likely to give the individuals a bonus if they're their employees. And recommendation for CEOs or the head management to implement these ideas directly without changing them. And managers are much more hesitant to implementing or recommending to senior management to implement these ideas if they are seen as if the person creating these products or these things are seen as using AI early in the process. So it affects managerial relevant outcomes, not just perceptions of creativity, right? It's also, would I give bonus to this person? Do I recommend that senior leadership actually implements what they've just provided to me? So we have three contributions right now with regard to our work. Consumer psychology research. They look at the consequences of AI disclosure regarding evaluations, regarding trust, regarding the products themselves, maybe that are produced. But we are really not looking at the products. We are looking at the creators engaging in the creative process. So we find that rather that than showing disclosure makes an impact on the perception of creators, we also show that it's not just disclosure, but it's the timing of the disclosure of use of AI. In terms of creativity, of course, this has notions regarding creative control, regarding the notions around authenticity, what that means for the creative process. We find that individuals value the insight stage of creativity, right? They believe that more work or more importance should be put on the insight stage, right? Where you get that aha moment, and less about that other stage, which is equally important, which is the actual work you need to do to make the idea happen. And so we show that, timing does matter regarding this notion of perceptions of creative process. Also, there's different modalities, right? Different ways in which you can use AI tools in the human AI collaboration research, looking at how, the different types of tools, how that affects. So we have research around using AI for ghostwriting, which is just like letting the AI do the work, or sounding boards, which is using them in a modality in which you're kind of using their data, or you're taking the recommendations, but you're doing something with them. And we also find that AI use can reduce the creative performance of individuals, right? It can be detrimental to them, both individually and collectively. The collective outcome of creativity becomes more detrimental. So we find that this is important. This perceived human contribution significantly, attenuates this early AI integration penalty in the sense of saying that you modified the tool before implementing it. Okay, I don't know how much time I have this last piece. So we have many implications around strategic disclosure of AI. Agentic AI is coming. So can you refer to an AI as a tool or not? I think that remains to be seen in terms of how important it is in terms of the perceptions of creative process. If AI is going to be doing everything that can be automated, right, as an agent, and then some future research in terms of the types of other things we can examine, consequences. So thank you so much. I realize I went way longer than I thought, but that's
But
good,
you
I
stuck the
guess, in a
landing.
way.
Perfect timing.
So
That's great.
thank you.
Josh, this is fascinating. We are at time minus 2 minutes. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Yes, actually, I'm going to chime in. First of all, Michael, it's great to see you. Josh, congratulations on your research. A couple of questions come to mind. First of all, what did you use to evaluate the creativity, the creative outcome?
It's the perception of how creative someone was in engaging in their process.
Did you use some external assessment tools, for example, consensual assessment technique, Amabile, or if not, I'm just pointing it out. You might be interested in adding that or looking into this. Another thing, my co-author, actually, Sabrina Habib, she developed a model related to creative process and the use of technology called the Digital Muse. If you are
Okay.
interested in learning more about that, happy to make a connection, which will also be featured in our upcoming textbook. And yeah, so overall, I think you identify some important things here for not only the individual work, but certainly work in collaborative environments where we're being judged. And maybe one last thing, a component of human agency and the focus on human agency, I would add to your outcomes, how important it is to build and train humans that are capable of distinguishing between training and working, ideating, being confident in their own creative abilities before they even get into the AI use. Just a few thoughts.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll reach out. I don't know if I think consensual assessment is about products themselves. So we are looking at there's no view of the outcome in terms of the product. We're saying this person is using an AI tool in their process, and we don't show any outcome, right? We say just we want to look at the perception of the creator themselves and how they engage in it. And so, people rely on those cues, right? Because they don't really know too much about someone's internal process or what they do in their recording studio. And
Yeah.
but that has implications on, how much they'll pay, whether or not the quality is high or low. So, would be cool to see the judgments of product quality, once the outcome of the product. But there's some research that even shows that when products are equivalent, in terms of quality or even superior, if an AI creates it, people are still negative against it, if they know it's from AI, or are told it's from AI, even if it's from a human.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really helpful. Um, I've been using AI for some research, and now I'm debating when to disclose it. When did I engage with it? I'm actually thinking about when in the process did I engage with it, but really, really insightful. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you guys for coming. Thanks, Mike.
Absolutely.